Okay, so today is Tuesday, March 22nd, and it is 10 a.m. I'm Christina Dillabo, Director of Communications for the Desert Southwest Conference. We're here for another Tuesday Talks with church communicators. And well, good morning to everyone that's joined me and to everyone that will be watching this at some other time. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever the situation may be. I'll just mention real quick, I should have said it in the email, shame on me, but we do have a time change now, which Arizona doesn't change, but in Nevada it would. And so we're all 10 a.m. right now. And some we had some joining early, which love it, that's great. I will be sure to mention it in next week's Tuesday Talk invitation that we're all 10 a.m. It's not going to be different times. Okay, so without any further ado, we are joined today by Carla Whitmire. She is the communicator for United Women in Faith, formerly known as United Methodist Women, for the Desert Southwest Conference. So Carla's joining us today to tell us about the brand change. So with that, Carla, can you tell us, what does this mean? What's available? What do churches need to be thinking about?
So I'm sharing the new Women in Faith website. And I just want to point out that there's a really nice link to a video down here. And I'm actually going to share a link, couple links in chat that I'm going to talk about too. So the first thing to know is that this has been a 5-year process. This isn't something that they just all of a sudden decided to do. They've been doing surveys and interviews, talking to people, and as part of this name change. The one thing to remember is because requirements for changing the actual business name require a little bit of work in the book of discipline and stuff. And so technically they're still United Methodist Women, but they're doing business as United Women in Faith. And so your local churches won't necessarily need to change bank accounts, but when you're advertising anything for them, it would be really great if you did use the new logo and the new name in advertising stuff. But what's really important to remember is that the mission that was United Methodist Women, bringing faith, hope, and love to women, children, and youth around the world, that hasn't changed. United Methodist Women has always been was a denomination that didn't require membership in a Methodist church, and this is part of them acknowledging that. And we have always had members from other denominations because of the work of United Methodist Women that they do around the world. We still have our mission institutions. We still support missions to different countries, and that is all the same. The second link that's in there, and I know Christina, you will share the links with everybody afterwards. But the second link is to an article by United Methodist News, and it is an interview with the CEO and the president of the directors, and it answers a lot of questions. If you get any questions from any of your women, I would really encourage you to share that link with them so that they can do a little bit more. I think that's really about all I have. Are there any questions about it and any of the changes and what it means? I'm kind of excited. Rebranding can be really nice. This is not the first time that we have the women's organization of the Methodist Church has rebranded. The women's organizations have been in the church for 153 years. And it was only in 1972 that they changed the name to United Methodist Women. And that's the first time in the whole entire 153 years that they ever used the word Methodist in the title. It it was WSCS, Women's Society of Christian Service, and there's been a lot of other names associated with it. So this is just a change of a name. They're hoping that people will respond to it in a positive way, and and bring in new people that can learn more about the mission of United Methodist Women and the church.
Great, thanks, Carla. So that article from United Methodist News, would you say, is it a good idea for churches to think about sharing that article maybe in their newsletter or as an email? Click here to learn more about this change, or is that just for UMW?
That would be really nice. You could if you just shared that the name had changed and the new branding, and you can input that article in to learn more.
Okay.
And the video was really good. I really enjoyed the video that's on the main website too. Gives a little bit more information about what what Women in Faith are doing. See, it's, after 30 some years, it's pretty hard for me even to remember to change the name.
Yeah, that's going to be quite the transition, but I have total faith that we can do it. I know it's going to be slow change.
And Christina, you talked about it last week, but just as a reminder that a similar change is coming from United Methodist Men in April.
Yeah, thank you. And I don't have, David James did reach out to me, and he just shared what he had already mentioned in an email before, that resources will be coming. There will be official announcements. So you guys just know, as communicators, that this is what's coming down the pike. It's not like an official, it is official, it is going to happen. It's just resources and things are not available yet. UMW, United Women in Faith, did a great job of getting it all ready to go as soon as the announcement was made. And so I'm looking forward to see what types of resources United Methodist Men will have, and what the name will be. If that's going to change, I don't know. We'll find out. So questions about that? Okay, and I'll go ahead and link. In my email to everyone, I will also include not just those 2 links that Carla provided in chat, but also the link to the logos and all that from United Women in Faith. I shared that last week, but I'll include it again this week, just so you have it handy. All right. Next item is about May 1st is Native American Ministries Sunday, and there are some resources available already. Let me see, is this the one? Let me try to share my screen. See, that's not quite it, but this is kind of the part 2 to it. So this is the first one, is that you can go to this site, and I will send you guys the URL. Side note, anytime you get an email with a link to something, obviously only click on those links if you know it's a legitimate source, and it's a legitimate source by always double checking the from email address. Even if it looks like, oh yeah, it's got the communications logo on it in an email. Nowadays, it's just a good habit. If you're going to click on a link, first check to see who the from email address is, not just the name that it says, but who the from email address is. If it is exactly what you are expecting it to be, and not something weird with the name that you're used to seeing, then you can go ahead and click on it to get to that legitimate resource. If you see something else that's weird in there in your email, don't click on it. Mark it as junk, spam, whatever it is that you can do in your IT support, what they recommend for you to do, but don't click on those links. So on this particular one, I had an email from Outreach, and I'm going to try to get to my email. I just need to move this stuff out of the way for a second. Sorry, I've got my Zoom menu in the way. There we go. Okay, so from Outreach, well, it's United Methodist Communications partners with Outreach. They are working on finding a different organization that they can work with, because they understand that a lot of churches have an issue with working with outreach. But this is who they're working with right now. So they're offering a free 50-pack of the Native American Ministries Sunday celebration resources that I've got on that webpage. So if you go there now, you'll be able to order that free 50-pack. And then the other one was the other special Sundays that you can go and order your other 50 packs for other special Sundays. So I'll include the links to all of these. These are the other special Sundays. In case you want them in advance, so you have them ready to go, you can order them in advance. You don't have to wait until it's announced. So questions about that one? Okay. All right, next item is, so March is Women's History Month. That's just like with other, I don't know, themes, there's Black History Month, there's Native American, Native American Ministry Sunday is different, but there is Native American Heritage Month, I think, things like that. These are just times where, we're trying to promote information that's out there, trying to provide resources for churches. It's great if you can use them right now, but if you can't, then hang on to those links, hang on to those ideas in preparation for next year's, in this case, for next year's Women History Month. I'm not putting my words right, but you get it. So the one that I'm going to show you is there's a timeline available from umc.org. I'm going to share my screen again. Actually, first let me open up this other one. Okay, share screen. Okay, so here's the timeline that's available. This might be something that you might want to use, whether it's for a sermon, maybe it's some anecdotes in here that you can include in a church newsletter, especially if you're looking for filler because maybe you're formatting your PDF, you might find some really cool information in here to put in there. So that's this one. So I think it'd be a great idea for you to hang on to this link. And then the other one is from the General Commission on Religion and Race. Basically, they invite you to honor the faithful women of color worldwide who have stared down racism and sexism to model Christian love, justice making, and service to transform the world. You can find out more about it here on this site and some great ideas about what you can do on Women's History Month. So that's that part there. Then down here is another timeline, really cool, where there's lots of great information. Again, you can copy and paste, use this stuff in your newsletter and an email bulletin. This would be great social media posts. I mean, they're pretty bite-sized that you could choose to put in a little bit, maybe once a week, or if you want to do a week of posts like this, all sorts of ways to use this information. So both of these links will be included in the follow-up email. Do you have questions about that? Okay, then a quick reminder about the worship resources that will be available by March 28th. This is for the Sunday after Easter. It does include a welcome message and a benediction from Bishop Grant, and the guest preacher is Reverend Javier Olivares. He's the West District Superintendent. And, there's other really cool people that are going to be in this particular worship resource. And we're going to have one full recording ready to go for you and all the little segments of it as separate files. I'm going to show you what I've got so far, but it's not really publicly available just yet. Let's see here, I think. Because some of these video files are not, oh wait, that's not the right one. Sorry, let me start again. Oh, talk amongst yourselves in the meantime. Just a second. I'll get this ready. See here. Because I do want to show you some of what's coming up so you're ready. Go post Easter. There we go. And now I can share my screen. All right. So the items will be labeled where you can tell, what it is, like opening prayer, second lesson, and so on. I will have an order of worship in here as well. This one is one of the items that I wanted to bring to your attention, the post-Easter worship slides. And actually, I will open those up so you can see what those are going to look like. I'm going to share my screen again. So why would I include PowerPoint slides if we've got all these recordings? Well, this is so that, in some cases, churches might not be using the recordings for their in-person service. They might use sections of it. And so having the slides ready to go that matches the background during the sermon is going to be a nice, handy thing. The slides that I have are just all the title slides that we're going to be using in the video. But here's the big deal. So when we have the songs, and of course, this particular one, oh, it does good. When we have the songs in there, this is one piece that you will need to let your worship team know. Even for the whole worship service, they are going to need to go in and replace, when this slide comes up, they'll need to open up this PowerPoint slide, add your church's CCLI number, and replace that segment in the full worship video with this new slide. It'll look just like this, minus a worship number, CCLI license number. And so they'll be able to see exactly how much of it to replace. And that is the same for the first song, the second song, but not the last song, because this is not a song that's listed in CCLI, and MJ Curtis emailed permission for all of our churches to use it. So this is the only one that you don't have to enter the CCLI license number. And you'll know that because it doesn't even have this part in it. I do want to give a special shout out to David Topping for helping me out with this. I always get nervous about making sure, I don't have to do this on a weekly basis. So sometimes I'm really worried about what to include, what do we not have to include. And with something like this one, it was very unique because she wrote it herself, she performed it. It's not on CCLI, it's not actually published, or it's published online, but it's not with a music publisher. Is that what it's called, David? Yeah. And he shared a little interesting tidbit that I didn't know about, but you guys might want to think about it and share this little piece of information with your music people in your church band, your choir, anybody that's composing their own music, that they don't necessarily have to register their new song at some particular place or wait until it gets published by some record label for it to be copyrighted. If they have written it this year, then they can claim that 2022 is the copyright year. Is that how it works? Yes.
And that's true of books, poems, paintings, anything that's in a fixed format, all right, that's been set in something that people can see on a more or less permanent basis is, yeah, it's better if you want full protection of the law to go through the process of officially publishing something, registering it with the Copyright Office, which is what publishers would do. So anyway, but otherwise it is, so that's why we always have to assume, even if somebody else just put something out there, that we should ask, because technically it is their copyright. So.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Any questions about that? Okay. All right, so the only reason why I haven't provided the link to that Google Drive yet on the dscumc.org/worship page, which is where it will be linked and you'll be able to download everything, is just because I haven't finalized the order of service yet. And I mean, we just had a change to one of the songs last night, and that's reflected in what you saw. That's the new lineup. But so at this point, it could, I don't know if anything will change again or not. But so once I have it all confirmed that it is all done, then I'll go ahead and link it. It's going to be by March 28th at the very latest. But I'd love to give you guys access to the different pieces before that, so that if your church just wants to use parts of it, then you can as soon as you want to. Keep in mind that these resources are intended for your church to use to offer your clergy a day off, a weekend off, where they don't have to come into the church or record a sermon. That's the whole idea of this. And ideally, maybe it'll work out for most of your worship team as well to get some time off. Your bands, your choirs. If you want to use all these pieces, you can have at it and give everybody some time off to spend with their family, since they're always, so dedicated to performing and preparing in time for all of your families to come and enjoy worship. So, I think they deserve it, but it's however it works out at your church, that's the intention for it. All right, last item is about annual conference ordination service. So we're going to have an article coming out. I don't think I've published it yet, but Billy Fidlin has written something. There's all sorts of news coming out about how our churches can help in the Tongan relief. And I don't want to give it away yet, because people are writing articles to talk about this part of it or another piece of it. But the one thing I have for sure that's coming up, you guys might want to share with your church in case you have people coming and asking, well, what are we doing about Tonga? So the ordination service during annual conference, the offering is going to be specifically for Tongan relief. And the only other thing I can tell you at this point is at the Desert Southwest Conference, we're working on, from our Tongan families to Tongan families on the islands, a heart-to-heart connection, talking to them specifically. What is it that they need? We've heard about how at this point they don't need a whole lot more water and all these other basic necessity supplies. They need something that's going to feed their soul. And so that's the kind of stuff that we're working on. It's going to be really exciting. We're going to have some information coming out, and you guys will know about it as soon as I've got it ready. But Timote Pukala, one of our Tongan pastors, is working on an article and is lining stuff up. He's doing some really cool stuff. So stay tuned for that. And definitely in the April newsletter, we'll have that article about the Tongan relief efforts, but I'm going to include it in the follow-up email so you guys have it already in case you need it for any church communication stuff. That's it. Questions about that? All right. So we got done in 24 minutes, and that was a lot of information. So I guess thanks for joining me. I look forward to you guys next week. And don't forget to send me any questions or updates. Oh, since we have just a little bit of time, I'm going to include some information about UMC Churches has now, for those of you that don't know what UMC Churches is, it's the site where your church, if you're looking for a new place to host your website, to create a website, UMC Churches is a service provided by the United Methodist Church. So they're not really trying to make a whole bunch of money on churches. They're just trying to make sure that churches have what they need to get their message out there. The exciting part is that now Resource UMC has partnered with UMC Churches to not only be a hosting platform and have these website templates, but Resource UMC will actually be able to create that website for you that's hosted at UMC Churches. So that's a big deal, because in the past, what they did was they'd offer training if your church needed it or wanted it. You could take, I think it was like a 8-week training to learn how to build your website and be able to edit it. I'm sure they'll still keep the training available, but the exciting part is for some of our churches, not all of our churches have someone on staff or ready to volunteer to take all that time and that understands how to create this website, how it all functions together. You don't have to worry about that anymore. Now that's going to be a part of the service of having a website through UMC churches, and they'll have the denomination branding if you want it. They'll help with creating, with your church emails, because that is one of the tiers of the website stuff. So it's pretty exciting. If anybody that's watching this is interested in learning more about it, feel free to send me an email. There is one of our churches is already taking advantage of this cool service. And there's so many other things that Resource UMC offers our churches, but they don't always announce it all because they don't have it for every single church. And yeah, the prices are very reasonable for the website hosting, for the templates, for the support. It's done so that churches can afford it. And of course, there's often grants available, and those are not just for brand new churches. So if your church has a website that's just unruly, you're having a hard time working it, maybe super outdated, nobody knows how to change it, whatever the situation is, if you're looking towards getting a new website for your church, don't hesitate, reach out to me and I'll help you get connected with someone at Resource UMC to help your church get something going. All right. Thank you again for joining me. Look forward to seeing you guys next week. And don't forget to send me your emails when you need some help.